So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about 14 causes of financial insecurities. Whenever you want to solve a problem, an accurate diagnosis of the problem is absolutely critical before a solution can be offered. So if you don't know what the problem is, what the causes of financial insecurity is, then coming up with a solution is going to be out of question. So I have identified 14 causes that I've noticed based on my experience, and I come from humble backgrounds, raised by a single mom, raised in a very bad environment where I had no access to opportunities. I lost my father at the age of 9. My family was in a lot of debts, and I also got involved with substances. And from that, I went to UAE and founded my first healthcare investment company and ended up partnering up with billion-dollar company CEOs and negotiating with very big, $10 billion public companies and meeting, hundreds of multi-million-dollar businesses and talking to some of the biggest bankers in the region that finance deals from $1 million all the way up to $600 million. And this is at the age of 26. So at 17, I'm struggling with substances, and at 26, I'm in UAE, living the dream. So how did I do that? There are some dramatic steps that I took because obviously there were a lot of problems with the neighborhood that I was in. I've switched 4 schools. I was in 2 boarding schools, bad environment, very violent. And, you know, I grew up in India, so you can imagine the boarding schools, how they were. So that's the background I come from, but still I managed to do the things I did. No, I wasn't good in studies or academics. I hated books, and I didn't go to Harvard or Stanford. I didn't even qualify for scholarship. The reason I didn't qualify is because I didn't even think I could get one. So I had low self-esteem. I didn't even apply for it. So I didn't even go to college. I did go to college, but I didn't finish. I dropped out and started my own businesses. I've done over 50 courses. I've had many, many mentors. And I'm just sharing this so that you have some perspective. I've also done a lot of meditation and yoga for about 8 years, 3, 4 hours a day to discipline my mind and get rid of a lot of bad habits. So I'm going to be talking to you, and which helped me actually to transform myself and get in the positions that I was in. Not to mention, I had business mentors also. Just sitting with your eyes closed isn't going to do anything. You have to expose yourself to the market with the right knowledge and skills. So, 14 causes. Number one, um, this is the cause of financial insecurity. Number one is lack of visibility. Money in its nature is invisible. Uh, People don't walk around showing how much money they have in their bank account or what they have in their pockets. So when you walk around the world, you don't see money. It's actually invisible. You see it in grocery stores a little bit, or when you go for shopping, and even these days there's a lot of card. So you don't know how much money somebody has. So naturally, when you don't see it, a lot of the places, there may tend to be an internal sense of scarcity, a kind of confusion. And you may hold on to the money that you have because that's the nature of money. What you can't see, you can't control. But here is the thing: when I was analyzing financial statements of the companies that I was looking to buy, I could see how much money they were making. And a lot of the rich people think in terms of numbers, and they're surrounded by numbers, and their role is about analyzing numbers, or in other words, analyzing money. So they can see money. They can see money where most people cannot see money. They have blinders on. So it's important to be able to see money. You have to be involved in looking at financial statements. To be very honest with you, Warren Buffett, who's one of the richest man in the world, looks at a lot of financial statements every day. So he's all the time in touch with money. He's reminded every day how much money there is in the world. And sophisticated businessmen know how much money their customers have, and what's their financial situation, and they're able to estimate it. So lack of visibility is one cause of financial insecurity. You can feel insecure when you can't see something, right? When you can see something, you feel secure. I remember the first time I opened a $10 million financial statement. It was a $10 million business, and I opened the financial statement and I saw the cash flows. They were making 30% profit margins, and I could see how I could use that cash flow to buy a Ferrari, penthouse, whatever I wanted if I just stack up multiple companies together, over time. I'm not saying those are wise purchases, but I saw possibilities, is what I'm saying here. So it's because for the first time in my life, perhaps I was able to see money. When you can see money, you can control money. If you can't see money, you can't control it. And the next thing was I did a lot of financial presentations with banks. Banks are flushed with cash. Again, those presentations were financial in nature. And I remember I was talking a lot of conceptually when I was building my company with my board members and my business partners. But there was one moment I distinctly remember. I was sitting down with my CFO, who was a senior partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I opened up a financial statement of the company, and both of us saw how we could buy this company and how we could finance this company. And even after loading the company with debt, there was still a lot of cash flow remaining. And that changed my life. And it changed his reaction also. Something snapped in his brain. Even though he had 25 years of experience, seeing a financial statement always does something to you. So you want visibility on money, you want to be able to see it. Next. Next cause of financial insecurity is non-numeric thinking. Non-numeric thinking. You don't count. You don't think in terms of numbers. When you take, for example, when you take a business meeting, do you think in terms of numbers? How much money am I making on this through this meeting? In short term, medium term, long term? Do you think in those terms? When you're performing tasks, do you think which task is going to make you how much money and over how much time? When you're reading a book, do you think in terms of numbers? If I read this book, what is the potential for me to make a lot of money? Do you sit down and identify skills that you need to acquire? Have you identified skills that can help you make a lot of money? For example, raising capital, public speaking, negotiations, sales, marketing. These are high income skills. Branding, these are high income skills. Um, do you do you think in terms of numbers? How many people do you have to talk to make how much money? Have you thought about that? What are your expenses over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What are the different business opportunities? How much money can you make? Do you evaluate business opportunities based on what you have to do versus how much money you would make? I remember I was recently speaking with an entrepreneur who had a brilliant idea, and he was really thinking a lot in terms of operations. I got to do this, I got to do this. And I said, hold on, we have to think financially. What sector are you looking at? Okay, how big is the sector? What is the profit margin? What is the cost of you entering the market? What is the risk? How many people do you have to talk to? All of that is numeric thinking. We can't think in terms of emotions when it comes to finance. We have to think in terms of numbers. So I understand if you don't feel like you are a numbers person or you're not good with numbers. I wasn't either. It's simple addition and multiplication in most cases, and you can use a calculator. Your phone has it. You can do it. If you want to make $1 million, have you broken it down in small pieces? What size of products do you have to sell to? How many people? And what is the profile of these people and where they are located? And how can I develop those skills to get it? So all of that's under numeric thinking. The people don't think in terms of numbers. They think in terms of passions and emotions. We want to think in terms of numbers and then get passionate about the numbers. So number 3 is bad information. This is probably one of the biggest causes of financial failures is bad information. You were operating under information or data that was not accurate, that was not correct. I'll give you an example of a bad data. If you perform well in school, you're going to get a good college. If you perform well in college, you'll get a good place to be an intern at. And if you become an intern at that firm, then you can get a job. If you have a job, you have an income, you can get married, you can start having kids, you can load up your income with debt, buy car, buy a house. Both of that is with debt. When your children grow up, you go into further debt to pay for their education. That doesn't sound like a good financial plan to me, because this just ties you into the corporate world to be just an employee, and you become more and more desperate, and you get more and more available for your superiors to control you. But a lot of the people from my school, and I just recently went for a reunion just to have a perspective. I like reunions because I can see how far I've come. um, I met some of my class toppers who really performed really well in school, and they could see the life that I was living. I post a lot of things on social media, and they looked at me with a lot of confusion. How? You you used to come in the last, you used to come last in the class. Your sheets of exams used to be empty because I left them empty deliberately. I didn't think the information was any useful. I knew it was bad information. I knew that this is not going to help me. When I lost my father at the age of 9, and these people are teaching me mathematical theorems that I'm not going to use, that doesn't help my mom pay my bills, I can clearly see through the school system that this information doesn't help my family's financial situation. I could clearly correlate, and that's a sign of intelligence. And I could sort out bad information from good information. My question was simple: how can I make money? How? Tell me, teach me. I was willing to learn. But don't teach me mathematical theorems that I'm not going to use in my whole life. And I was a pretty rebellious kid. And some of these toppers in my class are just working for some company, slaving away their lives. And I have a very different kind of life, and I didn't think I would have this life, because I was told this information: if you don't perform well in grades, your life is finished. Your life is not finished. Okay, so bad information is a big cause, and you need right knowledge and information. Thankfully, I had a lot of mentors. I spent a lot of money. Just with my mentor, Dan Pena, and his castle seminar, I spent about 40,000 pounds. Most people would buy a car and stay dumb. But uh, I decided that, you know what, this guy has 40, 50 years of experience. He lives in a castle. He created a $450 million company. You know what? 40,000 pounds is nothing. I'm going to get the knowledge. Even if I don't implement it, I just want to get it. I just want to have it at the back of my mind, you know, and it changed my life. And just like that, I paid a lot of people to teach me. Why? Because I don't want to make the same mistakes. I want to leverage their experience. I want to use their pain that they went through and the experience that they got from that. And I don't want to go through the same pain. I just want to get the knowledge, and cut the learning curve short, and get the results much faster than even they got. So that was the purpose. So lack of right knowledge and skills. And skills are built based on right knowledge. The right level of knowledge wakes you up, enlightens you, shakes you. The bad kind of knowledge puts you to sleep. Number 4, lack of financial vocabulary. So, the world of business follows a certain kind of vocabulary. And I was with somebody who didn't speak English recently, and she was trying to communicate with me, and I could see the frustration because she didn't have words to express her. And what I could see, that she was facing a lack of power. And what I was saying, she wasn't able to understand. So I felt this sense of lack of power. And most people feel that about finance in general. If you don't have a financial vocabulary, you cannot think in proper terms, and you cannot analyze things in proper terms, and you can't make decisions based on proper terms, and you cannot analyze data based on proper terms. So anytime somebody comes to me for a mentorship, I give them a book to read, which is purely based on financial terms. That'll help them communicate in business. And I didn't have that, even though I was trained, um, you know, by a great, great guy. When I sat down with meetings with bankers, I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just repeating words I didn't understand meaning of. And I felt really out of place. And it was extremely painful. And I felt a little bit shameful that I don't understand, and I can't even communicate properly. And I know how to communicate, but I didn't have the financial vocabulary. You can get the financial vocabulary in one or two books. You can get it. These days books are written in a very simple language. So you can understand, in a very simple language, what's written, and you can familiarize yourself with those terms. Many people have made complicated financial terms easy. Now, why is financial vocabulary so complicated or presented as something very complicated or technical? Simply because wherever there was power, historically, there was a moat around it. There was a protection mechanism. Either there were guards with swords, or there was a kind of code language. So you can say that financial language is the language of the rich. Rich people communicated in such manners, and they created these words, in my humble opinion, so that most of the people are excluded from this language, this code of language. And only bankers and certain entrepreneurs understand this language. And there is a reason this is not taught in school from a young age, even though finance dominates human life and every decision of your life. And it's not taught in schools. Why is that? I want to ask you. Why are people kept away from financial vocabulary? And I'm frustrated because I felt lack of power in the area of finance because I didn't have proper words to even think. Think about a word that you haven't read. Can you do it? You can't do it because you have to have learned the word to be able to think about that word and think about the definition. And definitions form concepts. Concepts govern decisions and actions. So if you don't have financial vocabulary, you don't have a lot of power in the area. So if you don't have the power in the area, check, do I have the right vocabulary in this area? Now, finance, it could be accounting, accounting and finance, it could be tax, and it could be sales and marketing because that's what brings the money in. And you could also learn some of the investment terms and then familiarize yourself with what those are, and you will feel completely differently. Your whole thought process will shift. Next, number 5, lack of risk appetite. I don't care what IQ you have, what your level of intelligence or somebody's level of intelligence. If they don't leave the position they're in and make an attempt to increase their position, to find a better position, and that almost always takes risk in the form of time and money, they're never going to acquire power or abundance because they're too attached and too scared to the position you're in. To get to a better place, you have to leave the place that's familiar. And risk appetite is extremely important. Look at Elon Musk, look at Mark Zuckerberg. Look at so many of these successful people. All of them are risk takers. And think about the people who had brilliant ideas, but they didn't execute because they don't want to take risk. And it's not always going to work out. I don't want to give you a false impression. It may not work out. But you know what? You made an attempt. You learned something. You got some data. You came back. You go at it again. There was a lot of opportunities that I went into that I had no idea if this would work or not. And even if it had enough evidence of working, I didn't know if it will work for me. But I still took the leap, and I was surprised. So there was a time when I was in Burj Al Arab, the 7-star hotel in UAE, and I saw this CEO of $3.5 billion company. I had to risk, getting off my ass and talk to this person, introduce myself. Even though I didn't feel entitled, I didn't feel I deserved it, I still went and exposed myself. And it did wonders for me. Every time I've done that, it has done wonders for me. So Create a positive association with taking risk. Something else, what is risky for you is also risky for somebody else. So if you are feeling scared, most people are feeling scared in that situation. So if you take the leap, you have a competitive advantage of taking a risk. And most of these college toppers and school toppers I found had low risk appetite. And that's why they are stuck in the position they are in. Number 6, bad region and environment. Boy, environment plays a tremendous role, and region plays a tremendous role. Business is an activity that's conducted within the framework of the law. If the laws are not in your favor, and if your region has too much bureaucracy, corruption, and corrupt people are being rewarded and productive people are punished, then growth is not going to happen. In fact, hyenas are going to flourish. Monsters are going to flourish. Corrupt individuals, parasites are going to flourish. When parasites start flourishing and start being rewarded, if the system is stacked in such a way that the productive individuals are exploited, and if you are a thief, you are rewarded. Thief, I don't mean literally stealing things from people, but doing dishonest things, dishonest practices are rewarded. And those are the elites. The society is doomed because there's no incentive for productivity. You're going to be like, why should I work? If I work, all of these people are going to eat based on my work and actually punish me for working. So if the incentives are messed up and corruption is flourishing, uh, I recommend leaving the region. Or thanks to the internet, you can do business with people in better regions. So you have access to the world now through the internet, and you can do business with anybody. So if you're not in a good region, do business in internet on the internet, and then find a way to get out of the region if you're not in a good region. Number 7, oh, this is my favorite one. Bad habits, which includes gambling, drugs, blind stock market investing, and spending money. And this is mainly on the men, spending money on women that you have no future with, that you have no intention of having a family with. She's a bad woman. She's exploiting you. You know it, and you still continue to spend money. There is a crazy amount of money you can spend on women. I know people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another one is gambling. You can spend an insane amount of money on gambling. I know people who made a couple of $100,000, went broke and in minus. And the opportunity with which they made money was a short window opportunity. So they somehow made the money, and it wasn't even a good opportunity. It was a quick opportunity, which is never good. And they lost a whole bunch of money. So um, stay away from drugs. It'll destroy your mind because your mind is what you use to make money. Stay away from gambling. It's a mathematical scam. And stay away from bad women who are just trying to exploit you. And one of the tactics they use is they act mad. And every time mad and annoyed and disappointed in you. And the only way to make them a little bit better is spend money on them, and then they'll show you a little bit joy, and then they'll go down again. And it's a strategy to exploit. I was in Dubai for 5 or 7 years. I've seen a lot of it, and I've seen a lot of men ruining their lives uh, through this. And if you marry this bad woman, she's going to take half your money. Uh, a lot of the guys have gotten broke, and some women go out into the world just to do this. They're predators. Be careful. Number 8, bad attitude towards money. Attitude like, you think I'm for sale? You think you can buy me with money? You think you can buy me with paper? This kind of an attitude that you don't um, you don't value money enough. Or, no, I don't want any money. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't want any money. This kind of an attitude can create a sense of lack of a sense of lack of money and lack of um, opportunities, because you're excluding yourself out of the conversation. I know a lot of people who don't have the money, who actively push money away because they don't want to seem like they are money hungry people. So um, you don't want to act so noble that you almost go into a mode of pretending that you don't even need money. You're not going to let a paper govern your life. That's a decent attitude to have, but money is not just paper. Money is Money represents productive work and the goods and services you've given to the marketplace. It's a record, it's a way of measuring the goods and services you've given into the marketplace. Some people say money doesn't define who you are. It absolutely defines who you are. It absolutely defines what you've given to the world. You know, now if you don't have money, you may be building value, and one day you're going to trade it with the market, and then you're going to make the money. So if you don't have it, don't beat yourself up for it. That's not the intention of the video. Um, but you don't want to have a bad attitude towards money. You don't want to disrespect money. Whatever you don't value, you're not going to have. You're going to squander it away. You're going to give it away because you think it's not valuable. This money came to you with your efforts, assuming you made it ethically, doing good. This money came because you gave some products and services to the marketplace which are valuable. And you should trade only in valuable goods and services. If something's not valuable, don't trade in it. And then what you have is good money. There's good money and bad money, I understand. But the good money has to be respected, has to be honored. You have to feel proud about it. It's a sense of achievement, it's an accomplishment. There's nothing wrong with it. Uh, Unethical means, yes, you should be ashamed and you shouldn't touch that money. But the good money, there's nothing wrong with it. So I've also seen this bad attitude. I've seen it in my family also. People actively trying to demonstrate how much they don't need money when they actually need it, pushing money away, having a sense of pride in not asking for money, doing things for free, which is fine. It's your choice. But I think if you're good at something, never do it for free. What Joker said in Batman. Uh, Number 9, lack of exposure to opportunities and business models. This is linked with the knowledge part, lack of knowledge. So, lack of business opportunities and business models. You must always educate yourself towards legitimate business models to make money. And you're watching the channel, so I know you're doing that. Number 10 is bad network. Bad network of people are going to take you down. One bad guy or one bad girl in your environment and you finished. Finished. I remember the guy who introduced me to drugs. I also remembered the person who introduced me to Hatha Yoga, which changed my life. I also know the person who introduced me to the world of self development. I've had both the extremes. One contact, bad or good, can change your life. One encounter. So before you meet somebody, you must ask yourself this question. Not Usually people think that, is this a good person or a bad person? It's not about that. You have to think in these terms. Do I want to become this person? I know a lot of drug addicts that are good at heart. And I don't care about how good at heart somebody is. Do I want to become this person? If I have to become this person, would I want to do that? If the answer is no, then I don't have to talk to this person. Extreme, I understand, but I've seen the effects of it. I was a good kid growing up. I was actually even good at studies. I met one guy, I started smoking at the age of 13. I met another guy, I started to do drugs at the age of 15 until 17 or 18. And then my mom guided me out of it through introducing me to various meditation practices. And then I got connected to a lot of the people who practiced yoga 3-4 hours a day, a lot of physical yoga, physical, clean diet and the whole thing. I used to have big puffy acne. I still have marks from it. My whole face got clear. Just changing associations, changing contacts. Encounters with certain people can ruin your life or make your life. I've had moments where I spent 3 days at a seminar with a great um, leader or an individual, the guy who was leading the seminar, and my life completely changed. My communication style changed, how I deal with problems changed, my whole perspective on life changed. And this person kept sharing stories about his life, and my whole mind was getting rewired. I had that experience and I never looked back, you know. So one encounter, bad or good, can change your life. So if you have a bad habit in your life that you want to get rid of, identify who in your environment has that habit, and you most likely picked it up from them, and you distance yourself. Unfortunately, that's the only way. When you have a disease stuck to your body, sometimes you got to get rid of that part, even if you love that part. You have to keep a distance, have to have boundaries. Emotions have a contagious um, trait. Emotions are contagious, habits are contagious, vibes are contagious, thoughts are contagious. I remember my mentor, Dan Pena, who lives in a castle, he taught me how to buy companies. And he said, when you go back, and he lives in Scotland. So I was heading from Scotland to London, and he said, if you see another student from the seminar in your train, stand up and sit somewhere else. I was like, that's a little extreme. So I sat down in the train, and one guy came and sat next to me. And he asked me the question, what industry are you getting into? I said, I'm thinking of getting into home care. And he goes, oh man, home care is a tough sector. Boom, programming. Because this guy was in his 50s, I gave him a lot of credibility, a lot of authority. The moment he said it, I completely questioned my thesis. How many times this happens in your day where you want to do something, you want to start something, and somebody just whispered in your ear, and that was over. The idea died at the stage of inception. When it was just about to form, it's like a baby. Idea is like a baby, it's just forming. Somebody killed it with their stupid limiting thoughts. So you have to be careful. I advise my clients to keep it quiet, whatever they're doing. And they're doing profound things. You know, some of them are talking to billion-dollar company CEOs, and one of them is in business partnership with a billion-dollar company CEO. Uh, I've asked him, we don't discuss what we do. Just keep it quiet, you know, because people will give their opinions and you'll get colored, and you're going straight, you'll get deviated. Don't do that. And this has happened with me, so I tend to protect them. Next is number 11, lack of creative problem solving. There is no problem in this world that can't be solved. Okay. So, whatever situation you're dealing with, if you're in a bad mess, think about Donald Trump. I like to think about him because he's been in extreme situations. I think he holds the world record of the largest financial turnaround. So he was in, I think, $4 or $5 billion in debt, and he turned it around. He was about to go bankrupt, but he didn't. And one of his books shared this mindset that all the money in the world is made by solving problems, all of it. If there are no problems in this world, you wouldn't have business opportunities. Every business is positioned around solving a problem. So, as an entrepreneur, your job is to solve problems. So, if you look at a problem and you run away from it, you're running away from a business opportunity. And the bigger, the more complicated the problem, and the more people have it, the bigger the opportunity and the more money you're going to make. There are problems that may take 5, 10 years to solve. I'm talking about complex and nasty problems, you know. So if you have problems in your life, and if you solve them, you can solve that problem for a lot of people. I had bad problems in my life. My father got cancer when I was 5. I lost him at the age of 9. Debt piling up. Mom is working all the time. Addiction issues, productivity issues, education issues. Changed four schools, 2 colleges. Didn't graduate. Chose the wrong industry. Yoga helped me, but it's not the best way to make money. Uh, I mean, everything that can go wrong at the beginning went wrong. But I flipped it around. And that makes me a good teacher. And that's the reason why maybe you're watching, is because I've seen the bottom. I've seen the nastiest of the problem. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I wasn't privileged. So if I can solve this problem, and that people say I have great leadership abilities and I can transform people. People who come and contact me, I have been given this feedback. I'm not a narcissist. This is the feedback that I've received from people, is that every time we speak to you, we feel good and a lot of problems get solved. The reason is simple. I've just seen too many, too soon, too young. And if I didn't solve those problems, I probably wouldn't survive. So I had to solve them. And I had to solve them using my imagination, creativity. So, how many times in your life you have a nasty problem? Do you write it down on a piece of paper, articulate it clearly, and then offer a few solutions to it? Do this exercise, it'll change your life. Whenever you're feeling this toxic emotion, a bitterness in your mouth, you just don't feel good, something bad has happened, maybe you're dealing with some kind of a demon in your life that's sucking your soul like a parasite. Whatever is happening, if you just write it down, articulate it, then you can see it. Okay, this is what I'm dealing with. What would be my ideal situation look like? What do I want? This is what I want in the place of this. Okay, then how do I bridge? What are my solutions? So you have the problem and you have the ideal situation. And then start writing down solutions. Many times when you feel hopeless and bad, you don't actually believe you can solve the problem. And that's a trap. Every time I've thought that, I was like, you know what? I've solved many nasty problems sitting down on a piece of paper. And all the problems in the world are solved sitting down on a piece of paper. You can solve it. So just write it down and see what happens. It may take you a few days or a few weeks, but eventually, as you keep writing down, keep defining the problem and keep defining the solution and keep enhancing or increasing your knowledge base and your skill base, you will eventually solve that problem. So creative problem solving is essential if you want to create financial abundance. So people don't have that. Lack of creative problem solving is a cause of financial insecurity. Number 12, acquiring liabilities faster than you acquire assets. I mean, I come from India, and in India, there is a culture of having too many kids. I think we are now the most populated country in the world. They'll be totally broke. They don't have food to eat. They don't even have the time, but they'll have kids. So many kids. And now they have so many dependents. And then they'll look at me with a helpless face. Prithvi, what do I do? Making $300 a month and I have 5 kids. You just acquired too many liabilities. And I know it's not politically correct thing to say that kids are liabilities, but when kids are young, they're dependent on you. You have to spend money to take care of them and time to take care of them. So you have to take on obligations that you can actually finance. So if you're not in a position to finance certain obligations, don't take them. And kids is just an example. I'm not saying don't have kids or anything like that, but it's just an example that don't get into financial obligations you can't finance. Don't acquire liabilities. Start acquiring assets first and put yourself in a position of power. And you have to keep the assets always higher than liabilities. And the definition of asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and definition of liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So if we just use that metric, keep investing in things, time and money, into things that can put money in your pocket, short, medium, and long term. And you need all three. You need short, medium, and long term. A lot of the people abandon the short term and medium term, focus on the long term, and they are exhausted. Some people abandon the long term and just focus on quick cash, quick money, and they're losing out also. You want to have short, medium, and long term vision. And different classes of asset give you returns at different points in life. Your job or your skill set could be an immediate, quick cash mechanism, but that may not be the right mechanism to create wealth long term. You need another one for that, another vehicle or another asset class that grows over time. but you can't abandon the short term. So acquire more assets than liabilities. Don't acquire more liabilities before you have enough assets. Number 13, lack of building genuine value. There are so many people that don't work on themselves, don't create genuine value. If you don't create genuine value, the market will see it. If you don't have value, if you don't know what you're talking about, and if you don't have real value, and if the language is structured in a manner that it pretends to add value, but it doesn't really add value, then the market will pick up on it. And over time, you're going to get crushed. So, value has to be genuine. People should be able to touch it, feel it, see the results of it, and benefit from it. So, lack of building value um, is a cause of financial insecurity. And you have to invest time in it, you have to invest money in it. I had to invest a lot of money and time to acquire the knowledge I have, and I had to implement, and I had to make a lot of sacrifices. Only then I was able to obtain something of value, build something of value. Anything good in life takes work and effort, and for you to invest your time to build that value if you want to trade it with the marketplace. And number 14 is lack of appropriate career positioning. There are certain careers that just don't make money because there are certain industries that are collapsing in nature, or they're just too old, or it's too common. Restaurants is one of them. Uh, every family has at least one person that knows how to cook. It's the oldest skill, in my opinion, uh, in humanity. So you are dealing with, you're trading in a skill that's oldest in nature, and every single family has one person that can do it. So certain industries, the way the numbers are stacked up, you're not going to make money. Now, certain positions within certain industry is not going to make money. You could be living in a villa, but if you are a service boy in that villa, it doesn't make a difference. So you could be in a great industry, but in a bad position. You could be a clerk or whatever. And it's fine if you're in that position. Get out of that position. Just get out of that position. Certain careers, no matter how, um, no matter what you do from that position, it's just going to turn negative. I gave an extreme example. I understand that. But there are certain careers that just don't have a potential, that they just don't have that scale, just don't have a big possibility. And there are only a certain careers and certain industries have big potential. And the bigger the opportunity, the narrower the options get. So, there are only a few types of career that can make a lot of money, and entrepreneurship happens to be one of them. And as an entrepreneur, you can create a company from scratch, or you can buy a company that's already profitable. These are the two models. You can build something from scratch, which is capital intensive, time intensive, high risk, or you could find a company in your region that's maybe 15, 20 years old, that's profitable, have a big margin, and you can acquire it. And when a company is profitable, you can raise capital from a bank and acquire the company. So if you're interested in learning this model, I've got a mentorship program training people exactly how to do it. Currently, some of my clients are negotiating with billion-dollar law firms. One of them is talking to high-profile bankers who finance million-dollar deals, and they're doing pretty well. And some of them are structured partnerships with billion-dollar company CEOs. So I have a very detailed mentorship program. It's both in the one-on-one and group format. I honestly don't know how long I'm going to do this because my time is on the line and I can only take so many clients. And I like to select my clients. I like to work with people who are like assassins, focused, clear, and on the path towards greatness. They have ambition. They're willing to make the sacrifices, because you could get the knowledge from me. If you don't make the sacrifice and implement, you're not going to get the result. So I like to take on people that I know and I can see they're serious, they're going to execute and get results. And I'm happy with my choices of people that I've decided to work with because they are doing good things. So if you're interested, in getting trained by me, um, I can offer you one free consultation call where you can get to know me, I can get to know you, and I can understand what are your needs. If you're serious, we can carve out a pathway to work together, and I can help position you to buy $1 million profitable companies. Okay, this field of career is known as mergers and acquisitions. So if you're interested in building a company like that, if you're serious, I'm going to leave my email below. Reach out to me and we'll set up a call. I'll talk to you soon.